All right, let's get some analysis on the country's energy crisis. We are now joined by energy expert Chris Yelland. A very good evening to you, sir. Always a pleasure having you here with us on SABC News.
Thank you. Good evening.
All right, well, it's, a week after the lifting of the state of disaster to deal with the electricity crisis. We are now back then at stage 6. What do you make of this?
Yeah, we've gone back to normal. We've had stage 6 load shedding since I think the last quarter of last year. We had a little bit of respite over 2 long weekends, the Easter long weekend and the long weekend before that, when there was this 4-day weekend, you might say, where Monday, although it was a working day, it was the day of a national protest action led by the EFF against load shedding. And of course, I think a lot of people decided not to go to work and in fact take probably the whole week off, because by taking Saturday and Sunday and then Monday and Tuesday and then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, you can take 3 days leave and you can get 9 days holiday. So I think a lot of people took that week off. It was a period of very low demand, much lower than Eskom had forecast, and that helped keep load shedding very, very low. But things have now returned back to normal after these long weekends.
Yeah. We now have what we've been told is an electricity minister and relevant people to deal directly with this energy crisis, as energy experts had called for. I think some of you had called for a national energy crisis committee, which indeed was then done. Now what? It's difficult to say that, that there's been a difference after all of this. And I remember one particular energy expert saying that, we have to give it at least, 10 months. Is that what you think too?
Well, if we do the right thing, I think there are quick wins that can be achieved.
Yeah.
But I don't think that enough attention has been given to these quick wins. A lot of attention is given to longer term issues like fixing Eskom's energy availability factor, which is not a quick win. It's going to take several years to sort that out. Also, new generation capacity coming on from the Renewable Energy IPP program, that is the public procurement program, from the risk mitigation IPP program, and the gas to power program, the battery storage. These are not short-term issues. So in my view, we've been neglecting the short-term opportunities and concentrating on the medium and longer-term opportunities. Now, those will bear fruit in due course, but they're not going to help things right now. If we want to help things now, we have to deal with the short-term opportunities.
We don't have time really when it comes to the long-term solutions, do we? Just this week, we were talking about investment to South Africa, investors coming to South Africa, but then we're also telling them, yes, while we're having this energy crisis that doesn't look attractive to anybody.
Well, look, there are short, medium, and longer-term opportunities, and that doesn't mean to say that we shouldn't start the longer-term opportunities now. We need to start working on them now. We need to start working on the medium-term opportunities right now and the long-term, because if we don't tackle them now, they're not going to be ready in 3 years' time. So we have to do a lot of things at the same time. But and while I do think that some efforts have been put into the medium-term and longer-term issues, I think the short-term issues have been sorely neglected. I'll give you an example. The recent tax breaks announced by the Minister of Finance in his budget speech for domestic users, in other words, individuals. The tax breaks announced were very, very weak indeed, much, much weaker than, for example, the tax breaks given to the business sector. So I think it's completely underestimated the role and the contribution that can be made by individuals to help bring on new generation capacity. And one just has to look at a country like Vietnam, which in 1 year was able to bring on 9,000 megawatts of rooftop solar PV and battery energy storage in the domestic and commercial sectors alone. That shows you the opportunity, but to do that, you've really got to focus and put in place some strong messaging, as well as some strong incentives, as well as to remove any regulatory red tape that is unnecessary and holding things back.
Yeah, I want to talk to the 4 points that President Cyril Ramaphosa made when he was announcing the establishment of the NECC, and then later, of course, the Minister of Electricity. He spoke about improving performance of Eskom's existing fleet of power stations, accelerating the procurement of new generation capacity, increasing private investment in generation capacity, and transforming the electricity sector and positioning it for future sustainability. Are we anywhere closer to getting any of those? Because we can't say at this stage that we've gotten any of those actually right as yet. But are we by any chance closer? I mean, this was a presentation made by the president, or promise made by the president last year already.
And the point is that those are medium and long-term issues. And it's very tempting to think that you can just fix Eskom quickly.
Yeah.
It's not possible. It is a medium to longer term matter. Now, I'm not saying they haven't put some efforts in there, and I think they have. And I think they will bear fruit in due course. But it's also good. We also need some really quick wins. And when I say quick, I mean in the next 6 months to 1 year. And that's where I think we're not putting enough effort into these quick wins. We are putting effort in, and they probably will bear fruit in due course. But in the meantime, let's get some quick wins under the belt.
Yeah. One of the things that you bemoaned, in fact, last year was the issue of communication with the public. And I wonder if you believe that this has somewhat improved. You said that it is not good. What are your thoughts now? I mean, you know, we're hearing things like fleet of old power plants is getting less and less reliable. To the general public, that really means nothing. But I mean, from your point of view, what do you believe now when it comes to the issue of communication, which you really did bemoan?
Well, on the one hand, not so long ago, I think about 4 or 5 weeks ago, no, about 6 weeks ago, the so-called National Energy Crisis Committee, NECCC, decided to have weekly briefings on a Friday to keep the media informed, and they did it for 3 weeks, and then it's just stopped. And it stopped when I think the new Minister of Electricity came in, and I think the idea was to let him get going, to get his feet on the ground, and then to restart these. But it has been disconcerting to see that these briefings have essentially stopped. And at the same time, I'm very disappointed that we've seen a complete slowdown in briefings by Eskom itself, by the board. These used to be quite regular, and they have really decreased significantly. And we haven't seen the kind of communications that we used to see. Lastly, I think the Eskom data portal, which was an effort to improve transparencies, has really started failing Eskom. If you have a look at it, you'll find that it is to a significant degree dysfunctional. And I've been complaining to Eskom regularly in the last 3 weeks about the state of their data portal, that it's not serving the purpose intended. Many of the graphs don't work. Many of the data files that are available or should be available for download, when you do download them, you find that the data in these files is garbled, it's garbage, it doesn't make any sense, it's unreadable, and in some cases it's just missing. So I think there is a lot that can and should be done to improve communications, especially at this time of high load shedding and when there is very significant distrust by the public towards the authorities. And the last thing I want to say is I'm also concerned about the level of mixed messaging, confused messaging, contradictory messaging coming out of the various ministers. That means the Minister of Mineral Resources and Energy, Minister of Public Enterprises, Minister of Electricity, the Minister of Finance, and even the presidency. They really are talking, they're not on the same page, and that's very disturbing.
All right, Chris Yelland, thank you very much for giving us your time this evening. That's Energy Analyst Chris Yelland there, weighing, of course, on the issue of the energy crisis.